Homeschool Mom Chat. I'm Teresa Wiedrick, the graduated homeschool mom turned certified life coach for homeschool moms. I'm here advocating for homeschool moms to live their most aligned, fulfilled lives, even in the midst of all this busyness. And today I get to chat with Vanessa Wright, who is also about to be a graduated homeschool mom and she's already a coach. And she too is in this full perimenopausal or menopausal stage of life where returning home to yourself feels like the most natural, compelling thing to do. So welcome, Vanessa. I'm so glad you're here. If you relate to this season of your life, I would love to hear.
It's connecting. Can you see me?
So nice to see you.
Hi.
Hi. I was noticing your stories.
I was going to tell you my camera is being propped up now by my Golden Girls calendar.
Perfect.
Because my tripod is completely broken, and that's just how we're going to roll today.
Yeah, well, I am relying on my new tripod, which I've never used before, on a giant stack of books. Keep it professional, right?
Mine's on a stack of journals, so yes, 1000%.
Yes. I love the haiku that you had in your stories. That was hilarious. I so relate to that. In the last few years, it's like full force that. Do you remember what it is off the top of your head?
I haven't, hold on. I keep I'm writing 100 of them in a row, 100 days in a row. So I keep track. I mean, I've been writing these, I call them Menopause in 3 lines. They're kind of like haiku-ish poetry. I've been writing them since I went through menopause 2 years ago. The one yesterday said, "Today I listened to my gut. She said, hell no. And I said, thank you."
Yes. I tell that to women all the time because I now realize that I am almost always coaching 35-year-old plus, and I invite everyone younger, but there's no question it's perimenopausal phase. And one of the first questions is, so tell me about your cycle. And that question was not welcomed by my 3 daughters when I would ask, where are you at in your cycle? But now I need to know because it really does reflect how much they can handle in, what their energy capacity is.
Oh, 100%. And as you go through perimenopause, I mean, full disclosure, I've been postmenopause for 2 years. And I started writing and speaking about perimenopause probably back in 2019, where I feel like nobody talked about it. And I was just very fortunate to have a practitioner who was so ahead of the game. Like in 2015 and 16, she dropped that word on me. So I'm like, doesn't everybody know this? No, but what is, you have to know, like when you're homeschooling and you may not even know you're in perimenopause, and then you've got your kids, maybe you have kids who are going through, I used to say hashtag the puberties all at the same time, and you're all home a lot or you're in a car a lot.
My experience. Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Do you know, actually, I know a few moms, and truly my heart goes out with you or to you when they are hovering around the late 40s, they're perimenopausal, but they're postpartum and still breastfeeding. That one is just like, too much, way too much.
Yeah. No, my kids are now 20. My oldest is 20.
Yeah.
And he's a full-time paramedic. He went right from high school, homeschool graduation, right to to work. And then he's going to start working on his, finishing his degrees. And he wants to do all that on his own, which I was like, go for it, dude. He was my kid who wanted to move out when he was 11. He's very, and we helped figure that out. And then my twins are 18. Yeah. My boy twin has graduated. I graduated him this past spring. And I will jokingly, he was more of my unschooled, very out of the box. And I was just like, hey, we're done. We're done.
You're third, right? Your youngest?
No, they're twins. My two 18-year-olds. I only have 3. So my oldest is 20. My boy-girl twins are 18. So I graduated my boy twin. He's also pursuing EMT. He's in EMT training right now. And then his twin sister is technically still a senior in high school, but she's dual enrolled at the community college. And then she will graduate because we're done.
Isn't that wild? Do you know, I think it's really interesting. We live in a very rural space, and really rural. And so to the point where they will hire my 17-year-old through a provincial grant to work at the fire hall, which is so cool, so useful for his college transcript or his portfolio, and he just loves it. He won't do it long term. He really wants to do the math, logistics, the like logical physics. He likes physics. He's thinking
Mm,
engineering next year, but we'll see. And but this experience being inside a fire hall and learning how to manage all those things, that is so cool. And it's
it's
only
fun.
I shouldn't say it's only homeschool moms, but we homeschool moms definitely think if you can, you should go do it.
Go have the experience. I mean, when my oldest graduated, he was 17 because he's a summer baby, and I started him in kindergarten when he was 5, not 6. So he was, and he was ready to graduate. He was 17, and he went and lived. He moved to Maryland. He turned 18 that summer, and he moved and lived in a fire station in like a
Wow.
really rough part right outside of DC for
Yeah.
like months. And I was like, whoopee,
I
have
had that
fun.
kid too,
Oh,
by the way. She didn't go to a fire hall, but she traveled for 6 months. And she was the same one that's like, I'm 8 years old. It's time for me to leave home.
yes. And you're like, what are you gonna do? Like you don't want them to their ball, so but it's also
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yes, it is. And so this whole phase, I know that everyone doesn't necessarily relate to the discussion on perimenopause or kids graduating and therefore we graduating as homeschool moms. But truth be told, it'll happen. And all of a sudden you'll be like, wait, what? This actually is going to happen. I actually wrote it in my book. I wrote a section about perimenopause, and it felt like Earth, like light years, I should say, away from my reality at the time. But I knew that it was part of the big picture, and I come into the space as a nurse. So I knew that it was necessary. And now I look at it and go, just you have no idea. Like I talk to my girls about what it's like to have an actual baby, and they're all like, "You're just making us scared to actually have babies." So I'm like, "But that's fair, right? Like it really hurts." And then the perimenopausal phase, I'm like, "This is like PMS with no pre-planning. You cannot put this on a calendar."
And no sort of like end date until like you just stop having your
Infinity.
12 months. And you're like, is this it? And then you're like, I don't know.
No,
And
it isn't. Yes, exactly. And your emotions do this, and then you make haikus or 3-line poems about menopause
yeah,
because you just
that's
want to
all you
warn the
can do.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, I started writing them too. It was like the summer of 2023 when I was really, what I said, that was like my crossing over the menopause bridge. I knew it was close because I'd been like super tracking everything and I could barely string words together. Like I say I white knuckled my way through menopause with zero, like nothing. Like when I
Yeah.
mean nothing, I wasn't on HRT at the time.
Mhm.
I wasn't doing anything except like it wasn't great. It was
Yeah.
terrible. And but I knew what was happening, and I, as a writer, like to not be able to sit and just write was like terrifying to me. I was like, am I actually not going to be able to write? I mean, all these things are going through your head, right? And like
Do
my
you
brain,
have dementia? There's
I
that. Like,
was like,
what's
what
wrong
is
with my brain?
happening? Like I would be up for like 3 hours in the middle of the night, just like wandering my house because I couldn't sleep. I was sweating. I was this. It was awful. And then trying to, at that point, I was like working for a company I'd been working for a long time. I was also working for an executive coach who was like full energy, and I was like behind the scenes, like, oh my gosh. And then my 3 kids were still at home.
Yeah.
It was a lot, and so I had to find something to do to like just for myself so that I didn't lose that part of myself because I felt like I was just shedding layers of whatever. It was a wild experience. I'm 2 years post it now. I can like reflect back on it, but in the midst of it was bananas.
Yeah, yeah. I in the last 6 months, because I'm not at the end of it. And when I finally had one of those, what is that? The Dutch test. I had
Mm,
the where you like pee 6 times on a
yeah.
little strip
Yep.
for an entire day. And when they finally brought me in and told me what was going on, they said these words, "You are not menopausal." And I'm like, thanks, that wasn't helpful. That was not. I know I'm not done because I'm
Yeah.
noticing this, but they don't at that time, they wouldn't say that you could do something about it. Maybe that's specific to where I am right now in Canada, in a
Mm.
certain space. But they weren't saying, here is your menopause hormone therapy or HRT. They were actually like, well, we're not, since that 2003 Women's Health Initiative, we can't exactly prescribe something. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I kept doing the research, and thank you to Dr. Mary Claire
Paper. Mm-hmm.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
she got me convinced. I said to my husband, who's a physician, that because he's not familiar with this, he's in emergency medicine, but I'm like, I need to be on something. I know this is right around the corner. So a week before that black box warning came off, I finally got on something.
Oh, wow. So just
Uh-huh.
really,
I did. Like, well,
yeah.
yeah, who knows how long I'm going to be on this. And of course, they did all the risk checking about whether or not I would have a risk for uterine cancer or things like that. But I was like, no, I'm going to be on this, because now what they're saying is being on that in advance of menopause actually enables you to have lower heart
Yeah.
cardiac risks and all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of different things. And so I'm like, no, I'm going on this. And by the way, this is just because I have this experience and I've declared this for myself does not mean I'm necessarily right. And I'm not speaking from a medical
Yes.
perspective,
Your
just
medical
to be
provider.
clear.
Yes.
And
Don't
also, I'm
be
willing
like
to risk it.
me and wait till like you're totally suffer. Like I waited
Yes,
to, like, because
exactly.
I was very determined to be like, I'm gonna do this my way. And then in the middle of it, I was like, holy my goodness, Vanessa, what were you thinking? Yeah. And then I found it. It was like a full year after I had gone through menopause to finally find she's in my town. We have a menopause provider clinic in my town. She just opened up her
Wow.
second. They're so busy with these like people wanting help, and it's not all about like you don't have to go like on HRT, but it's like there is help out there. Like you don't have to suffer. You're
Yes.
not like you don't have to suffer. Like
You
that
shouldn't be. And people
you
will say, well, it's natural. I'm like, yeah, so is palliative care, but people do something when people are palliative. And
yeah.
yeah,
And everybody has different symptoms. Like it just it's just so different. I'm just saying like tune into yourself, and I think like when you're also in the throes of homeschooling your kids and working and stuff, it's really, really easy to just keep shoving your symptoms to the back burner, to the back burner. But I'm going to tell you, like, do not do that, because
yeah, amen.
it'll boomerang back around. And then it literally will just zap you. And then you're not helping yourself. You're not helping your family. It's not fun.
I'm actually writing a seminar. I was actually in the middle of recording something before I was chatting with you that for the Canadian Online Homeschool Conference, and it's about creating a homeschool that doesn't burn you out, essentially. And it begins with that exact thing. It begins with you acknowledging that you need to deal with your needs and your desires or interests or whatever. It has to be there. And for some reason, as mothers, we almost like take on this demigod energy that is like, I am the most invested person in my child's life, which is probably true. But also, you are not a god. You have human needs. You need to act like you have them and do
Yeah.
something about it. So when perimenopause comes, that's just like taking it to the next level of incapacity. You don't have the for all that.
Yeah, I call it your unbecoming and becoming. This like
Ah, nice.
I've written, yeah, that's like a phrase I use a lot in my poetry and my writing. It's just this I'm becoming and becoming, and it's all happening at the same time.
Yes.
And if you don't pay attention to it, well, you have to pay attention to it. You have to pay attention to it, because you're not going to come out the other side the same person, and that's okay. You're not supposed to. I
Yeah.
think the biggest lesson for me that I learned, and I can't remember where I read it or who said it, was that as your, again, not a doctor, just a woman who's gone through menopause, like as your estrogen is declining, that's your mothering hormone, right?
Mhm.
Like you're not supposed to be motherly and mothery like your whole entire life. And please don't hear me say that like you don't love your kids, you're not going to help your kids, all that stuff. But like your body is changing for a reason.
Yeah.
So you stop, like you're going to come out a different person. And
Yeah.
in the midst of it, my kids were like, what is that, Mom? You are like, Mom, you're just not nice anymore. And I was like, it's not that I'm not nice. It's just that my tolerance level for like so much
Exactly.
is just not there anymore.
I totally relate to everything you're saying.
It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that I noticed right away, or the thing that was really a tell for me, because I'm exactly with you on that mothering angle, I always wanted to be a mom. That was always in my thing. But then somewhere around, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I was like, kind of done with cooking. And also dishes. And I know that most people would say that, but I mean, I'm like really done. And so then the kids are like, whoever's staying at home, because everybody's slowly dropping off and, growing up. And so then the ones that are at home will say, mom doesn't cook anymore. And that is a sign. That's a sign. You don't need a
Oh,
digest. You just need to know you don't want to do the maternal things the same way.
yeah. And it's not that you don't have to do them ever again. You're just doing them in
Yeah.
a way. And as a homeschool mom, if that's, who we're mostly talking to, like, I had my kids cooking from a very, very young age.
Yes,
Like, if
do
you're
it.
living in here with me all this time, you're going to learn to make food. You're going to clean up after yourself.
Yeah.
Now, do we do it perfectly? Of course
Of course
not. I mean, two teenagers are still at home. And, but it is a daily practice for me to let go of like responsibilities that I don't have the capacity for anymore. I just don't.
Yeah. Well, that's
And it's
actually
very
like,
different. Like what my mother, my mom and I've had this conversation. She's 73 and my very
yeah.
traditional mom did everything all the time. Like, I don't think I did laundry until I went to college. And then I was like, what do I do? I'm like, my kids are learning to do laundry. I was like, I haven't done my kids' laundry in years. My mom's like, what? And I'm like, what? No. It's like, so there's like that generational gap, right? But
Yeah.
like, lately I just cook all my own food that I want to eat, that is good for my body, and everybody else I will buy your ingredients. And I fixed a grilled cheese sandwich for a kid today. I helped thing, but like, I'm not preparing elaborate meals right now. I don't have it in me anymore right now.
No, I actually really get that. And when I do cook, they're like, oh, you cook. I'm like, the
When
first
starving.
15 years of mothering, I
Yeah.
was full on, and I have four
Yeah.
kids. We traveled for 7 years of our homeschool years. My husband is a physician, so he wasn't always he wasn't there the same way. He was there differently than other dads, maybe. And so I was all on, and I was doing every single thing. And having said that, let's talk about maybe the mom that's actually listening. I don't know. If you actually are fully in the space that we're at right now, let me know. I'll keep talking about this, but also I know what it's like to be in that other end where you're like, wait, what? You actually get to the place of not doing this. And I think that what you need to do is train your kids to do those things, not just for their life skills, but also because one day they will learn to cook for you.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100. My daughter fixes me. She knows what I like. She's really great. My older son, he's lived on his own for 2 years. He goes and he can make his own food. He helps himself here. I mean, it's just the basic for me. I'm like, I want my kids to learn to cook and take care of themselves more than I care about algebra 2. I have to be straight up with you. Like,
100%. Amen to that.
I do
Yeah.
not care if you, and
Yeah.
nor do I, you can recite historical facts. I'm 50 years old. I don't know I know this much about history, and I don't care. Like, if I want to look it up and study it, I study it. So like, if you are in your beginning stages of homeschool, all this stuff, like, you're not going to cram all the facts your kids need to know into life. Like,
Yes. And neither will they. And turns out everybody has gaps. But when you're talking about the unbecoming and becoming, it's not just about us not wanting to be in the kitchen as much, but like, what would you say it really is? Because it's so much more than that.
oh my gosh, yeah, that's like the kitchen. Cooking and cleaning is like that much part of it. It's more of like you're unraveling and unbecoming of like this phase that you're, but maybe like if we talk about it from the maiden, mother, queen, and crone, like
Yes.
Archetypes, if you will. Sorry, I'm going like maybe a little literary, cerebral a little bit, but if you look at the archetypes of like maiden, mother, queen, which is like where I am, and then crone, right? I'm not calling myself a crone yet. I'm in my queen era, but like, you have to change yourself. Like, there's beautiful, like, coming back to all the things you loved
Yeah.
child. And so for me, I really dial into my age 9 self. And that's because I started cycling when I was like a little shy of 11. So I was pretty young, but I was still a child. But like, something about 9-year-old Vanessa, like, I was tapping back into that. So for me, it was like all my like stickers and crafty things and writing silly stories and the poetry, like getting really into what my 9-year-old, like before I was in my mother energy, right?
Yeah.
Like more of that little maiden self. But then you're also getting into this like queen energy of like your bullcrap tolerance is just not there anymore. You're going to speak more,
Yes.
and maybe like things that you've been passionate about that you've had to put on the back burner because you've been tending to everybody else,
Yeah.
that has to come forward, because if you don't bring it forward, you're gonna that's where burnout happens. I don't know that burnout, now that I have some distance, like, and I had diagnosed burnout from a doctor actually
Hmm.
back in 2014 or so. Like, it was like your body is like bull, like really not handling things well. And so it wasn't necessarily that it was like the cooking and the cleaning and the homeschooling, all that stuff. It was the ignoring of, like, I didn't write like for 10 years, like probably for 10 or
Hmm.
12 years, because I was so busy doing stuff for everybody else. I wasn't creating, I wasn't being creative. That's my passion, right? So
Yeah.
when you kind of push that stuff aside, it's going to fester because it wants to be heard and it wants to
Exactly.
become itself again, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
listening within. I think that's a thing. And I would say, even from this perspective, or like where we're at in, say, the homeschool journey or the woman journey, that we need to actually encourage women that are younger than us to create space for that. And
Yes.
sometimes I hear women, and I know I would have been that woman that says, I don't need that. I'm with my kids. This is the season I'm in. I will make space with them. And I get that. And you should do that. But also space that's outside of them, and that I'm not prescribing a time, or like amount of time or
Right.
anything. It's just, you are a person outside of your role as mom.
Yeah. No,
You just
100%.
are.
When in 2020, in the fall of 2020, I was 45, and I just said, you know what, I want to become a life coach. I'm not
Mhm.
waiting until I'm 50 when all my kids are graduating. So I was like, why not? So I
Yeah.
signed up and became a life coach and got certified. And then I was like,
Yeah.
I want to get published. And somehow that happened in 2021. I got published. Like, now, did I have a little bit more space because my kids were older? Yes, but we were still in the throes of like some really
Yeah.
heavy, hard things. But I was like, I have to make time for it, because my body
Mhm.
was literally screaming at me to do that. And I got very protective of having to do that. I also wanted to model that for my kids. And
Yeah.
I've talked about this for years. Like, here I was setting out this, what I called like their educational, this like buffet for them, because we've done every kind of homeschooling,
Yeah.
like
Me
almost
too.
every kind of homeschooling you
Yeah.
can imagine. And all three of my kids are vastly different learners. So
Yeah.
I tried to, we tried 2 years with a boxed curricula when they were young. Mostly worked. And then when we got to the middle school age, my older son was like, what made you, he literally said to me one morning, what made you think I would do this for school? Like, it's all
That's
coming
a
back.
good question.
Yeah. So there's that sense of like, number one, well, and you can't do it all at the same time. Also, I think
Mhm.
that's like what you were kind of talking about. Like, you have to make the space. And I wrote for the homeschoolmom.com for 4 years. So
Yeah.
it was kind of neat because I was like chronicling our homeschool experience for 4 solid years. And I remember writing, one of the pieces I wrote was, Dear Homeschool Mom, you need a hobby. You need
So
stuff to
true.
do, because I
Yeah.
had spent like 8 to 10 years only obsessing about homeschooling. It's
Yeah.
not healthy. It's just
Yeah.
not healthy. Like, yeah. So
I
that's
don't know
that.
if it's almost like a season. Like we're just in it fully in the season. And it's weird. The one thing that I hear from moms sometimes, and it's not everybody, but a certain phase of their homeschooling, they're like, I don't want to say this out loud, but I'm bored. And I'm like, that's okay. That happens. It turns out it happens with everybody. You can only go through the Matthew C curriculum 4 times and then be like, I love Steve Demi. Thank you for teaching me math, because that was actually my reality. But I'm kind of over the preposition poem or Matthew C or whatever. And actually, I love Matthew C. Just to
Same.
clarify.
That's all. Yep. Yeah. But I
Did you?
outsourced all of my math to my mother-in-law, who was
That
a high
would be a
school
wise
math
thing for me too.
teacher. Yeah, she was a high school math teacher.
Good.
I outsourced math starting in 6th or 7th grade. I haven't taught math in years. Once we hit fractions, decimals, I was like, tapping out. Bye. Like, I'm not doing
I
it.
think
So,
I'm in awe. I have one kiddo in AP Physics and a variety of math classes in his final year. And then I've got a kiddo who's in her science degree and she loves calculus. And I'm like, I know they came out of me. I remember the moment, but this is not me. This is
right.
not even a little bit me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, the math, well, their dad is like, and his whole side of the family is all like super great with numbers and very mathematical. I'm like, I'll write a poem about math, but I'm not trying to teach.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and me are very similar. Okay. How do we tie in Golden Girls into this conversation?
I'm staring because I have like a bunch of Golden Girls mints, these like tins that have Golden Girls mints that I'm sending out to friends. I don't know. Like I joke a lot that I'm in my full Sophia, like, you know, borderline Sophia era. You know, I've number one, I am Italian. I'm 100% Italian and I'm very short. I can be a little sassy and I'm always wearing like cardigans and like, you know, telling stories and talking with my hands. I don't know. There's something so freeing. I'll turn 51 in like a month, and I love it. It's the best. It's the best.
You know, yeah. Okay, first of all, I can't believe we're in the Golden Girls era because they are older than us. Aren't they? I don't think of them as my age. But the first thing, and then my birthday actually was just on Sunday, and I turned 52. These last 2 years have been like so aligning. That's what I would say, is that everything feels like, and I refer to my 8-year-old self, so I don't think that's a coincidence.
No.
There's something about that energy at that age. Whoever that is, you are still that. And nurture the moments of that. And I feel like I've so come into, I don't know, I would say an 8-year-old that's healed, but grown up, but still an 8-year-old in my 52-year-old body. And it feels very aligned. All my coaching practice, like everything I do, one-on-one coaching, everything is like this. It feels aligned.
It feels good.
It feels so good.
Yeah.
So even though the whole like youth thing apparently is over, and I know this only because I have children that tell me it is. That's when you know you're getting old. They're like, Mom, I think you should change your profile picture. That's a bit young. And I'm like, please stop. Also maybe 10 pounds lighter, but that's why it's still there.
You're like, I know, I always joke, like, at least my homeschool kids are like so honest about things. Like they have no filters. I don't know if it's because they just, I don't know. I'm like, okay, maybe that's a lot, but that's okay. Yeah.
So what's your next step now that I don't know what your youngest kiddo is doing, if she's sticking around, because in my experience, they keep going back and forth. And I'm told that they officially leave when they get married. And between you and me, that might be soon for me.
Oh,
I know, but I can't say it out loud.
Okay. I hope we're nowhere near. Like I was like, no. My oldest he's, as I said, he's 20. He's a full-time paramedic, and he's going back to finish his associates. He wants to. I think he told my sister last week, I want as many letters after my name as possible. I'm like, okay. So now let me just also say, this was the child we kept saying, why don't you get your associates? Why don't you go to this? He was like, I'm doing whatever. He wanted to work. I was like, okay, I'm not going to push it. And so like, you have to know your kid. Like that's the joy of homeschooling. I was like, I'm not going to force this kid into like a 4-year college if he's going to be miserable. And now he owns 2 cars. He has his own like he's doing really well. And I'm like, awesome. Take care of yourself. And then also his company will like the who works, they pay for all his education. So because they need if you have kids who are listening, we desperately need EMTs and paramedics in the United States. There's such a shortage. So it's anyway. What's next for me? I don't know. I'm in this like weird pivoty place. I write a lot. I write on my Substack, my newsletter. I write a lot there. I've been doing marketing, marketing and visibility work, because I've been doing marketing and communications work since 1997. So I am doing like freelance work for a couple of people, and I'm trying to figure out, like, do I want to grow and like make more like my own little agency, like doing that? I don't know. And then just I'm working on I want to work on doing writing circles for women in perimenopause and menopause, where we sit online and we are writing through what I want to call rage on the page. So that's hopefully coming in 2026.
Oh, you got those words dialed in. Hence the poet, right? The inner poet.
I love alliteration. I love to rhyme. I just want it to be fun. I want to bring people through Um, I want them to bring them through their creativity as their midlife selves, whatever that looks like, but dial it in through writing, through poetry, through even if it's just a personal essay. Everybody, if you write, you're a writer. That's what I say.
Amen. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got a writer's room in our collective. Like I've got a
Oh,
confident
yes.
homeschool mom collective, and everyone isn't a natural writer, but I see the power of writing, putting everything that's going on up here on a page. It's so freeing and it just helps you get clear on what's going on. But in the last year, I started publicly writing snippets of my memoir on Substack. And that's like a next level vulnerability thing. But and I just said that out loud, but that is aligned with all the things that I'm doing in coaching. And I feel like the work that I'm doing there is very much what you're speaking to, the unbecoming and the becoming. It's different for different women in different seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And in working with moms, I see that I think above everything that we are not really saying what's the truest thing for ourselves. We're not always saying, you know what? This is actually a really hard thing. You fill in the blank because everybody's got different stories. Sometimes they're dealing with chronic illnesses or alcoholism or drug addictions or marriage
Yeah.
challenges or
Mental
these
health
really,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
really big things, not just the little things. Like, I don't want to just
Mm-hmm.
talk about your curriculum challenge. I don't care about your curriculum.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the truth because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You could choose whatever, just spend less because you won't use it all. I
Yeah.
guarantee. But or your routines or your methods or things, those aren't the biggest challenges in homeschooling. The biggest challenges are actually you are the
Oh,
curriculum and you are the biggest challenge.
yes. I'm like, if somebody would have like told me that back in like 2010 when I started, that would have been, I saved me a lot of tears of like,
Yeah,
but you know what? It's easy to, you know, when I started, my kids were 3, 3, and 5. And, you know, I have so much grace and compassion for myself at that like
me
age and
too.
stage of homeschooling. I think you have to. And like, you know, you're and newsflash, homeschool moms, your kids are probably going to tell you, I hate homeschooling, or why did you
At
homeschool me?
least
And blah, blah,
once.
blah.
Each
At
child.
least 700 times. Okay. And, you know, I had to make peace with that. I'm like, you know what? One of my kids probably would have benefited from going to school. I asked them multiple times. They said no. Should I have pushed it? Maybe, but you know, it's too late now. So, you know, you have to be honest with yourself, and also like you're just doing the best you can with what you have when you have it. And I think exactly what you just said is like getting really honest, like
Be real with yourself. Yeah,
with the fact that like homeschooling isn't a panacea for like it's just
exactly.
not like you're gonna still kids will have mental health issues, you will have mental health, there will be bullying, there will be like all that stuff we say like, oh, we're trying to like, if you're living in a bubble with your kids, you know, good, but like at some point they're gonna have to like be quote unquote in the real world. And I know that that gets like wonky conversations with homeschoolers, but it's the truth
Yeah.
because they're not going to be around. Most people aren't homeschooled or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like most
Oh
people
yeah.
aren't like
Yep.
you are. And so you have to like sort of like loosen that a bit. And it's hard. It is hard work. It's hard work.
Yeah. This morning I was at a self-care roundtable with Natalie. Hey, Natalie. And a few other moms about this discussion of, you know, addressing your real needs and being honest. And I think the problem with that we try to not make homeschooling look like there's anything wrong with it, that's all perfect, and like you said, the panacea. And the reality is you are still a human on a personal growth journey, and your children are still growing up and they're on their own personal growth journeys, and there is no perfection in that, even though I really wanted it to be utopia. I was trying to create a
Oh, same
utopia.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it created that utopia in my home to right the wrongs of a childhood that weren't perfect.
Mm.
And it would turn out you can't do that. That's not the journey you are invited to. But as soon as we get real, there's a release just by acknowledging what's true. And then you can actually move towards changing the challenging stuff. But it has to first be a real acknowledgement.
Totally. And, you know, I remember, you know, my own therapist said to me, she's like, you aren't guiding them anymore, like, especially when they got to be old. She's like, you're just kind of walking. You're not even necessarily always walking next to them right now. She's like, you're kind of stepping back. Like you're walking a little bit behind them. And she's like, you have to stop. Like, for example, for me, I'll just tell a quick story. For me, like, food and nutrition was a real big thing of like why I wanted to homeschool, because all of my kids had different health issues and I wanted to make sure they were being healthy and all that stuff. But like once they got older, I can't like I couldn't monitor like what they were eating, all this stuff like that. And so I had this like health fear, this nutrition fear, right? And it would like consume my like, and I would get so stressed about it until she like called me out on it. And she's like, you've laid a foundation for them. Like they have to make choices. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I don't, I can't, like what? And it was a hard lesson. And I'm super educated about lots of things, but it like, and I could tell somebody else if they were doing, but to look at myself and be like, oh
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see what I'm doing. I mean, I still do it. It's not, I've let go a lot, but, yeah, I mean, I wrote about how I was worried when my oldest son moved out, he would never eat vegetables again. It was like a legit fear that I had that he would never eat broccoli ever again. And I even titled my poem, it'll start with the broccoli or something like that. And that's why I use writing to like write through my, through my motherly like challenges. But it's, you just do the best you can with what you have when you have it.
Yeah, you know what I hear from you is that letting go of control bit. That one's always a challenge as a mom. And it really is. And
especially if you're the oldest. I'm the oldest daughter. I'm the eldest child, eldest daughter. Like
ditto.
Born, so.
Yes. Me too. Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Yeah, this entire parenting journey is a challenge. Throwing a little bit of menopause and you're like, oh, fun.
Yeah. Times.
You know, everything. I thought it was interesting when I checked your stories this morning because the way you phrased the offering that you have presently is so similar to mine. Not a coincidence. I've got a 12-day self-care challenge that I started yesterday, and it's all about that. Now, your words, unbecoming to becoming. I call it returning home to yourself. I think that's a little too similar. I think it might be a sign that we're at that stage of motherhood where we're like, this is going to happen. So sign up for it now. And you can actually sign up for it if you just type self-care challenge in the comments. But when you sign up for that personal growth journey, I think you make it a little easier on yourself when you're doing
a gift. Like, sign up for Teresa's things. Give it a gift to yourself. That's always tell like it's the holiday season. Do something nice for yourself. Like that's what
exactly.
Give yourself the gift of care and commitment. Like commit to yourself. Like I love a challenge. Like I have my 100-day here. I'll even show you. Oop, it just fell. Never mind. And I'm not gonna fall. I keep like a little 100-day challenge thing next. Here's a blank one. I just printed from Canva. I did like. I've got my 100 days of my haiku filled out this summer. I did 100-day posting on Substack. No, I love a challenge, 12-day challenge, 30-day, give it to all. Like keep that commitment to yourself because you are also showing your kids who see you a lot because you are home with them and you're interacting with them a lot. Like you're showing them that you can show up for yourself also and modeling how to care for yourself. And I think that's
care for yourself and also live an intentional life. That's what I always see is that ultimately it's about like the reason you go into homeschooling, usually, not always, but it's some form of freedom. Like somebody wants freedom. And if you identify with what I'm about to say, then you definitely get value from the challenge that I'm offering. But for me, I realized that I'm trying to give my kids freedom. And I didn't have it inside. And I was really looking for it for me and them, but me. And it has to come here first. It has to be you first and then live it outward. And when they feel that freedom or they feel that kind of energy that you're moving toward a more purposeful life, they will too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you're going to have your ups and downs. And by the way, your kids' version of what their freedom is going to be vastly different from
Amen, sister. Oh my goodness, we are so
and you're going to like bite 17 holes through your tongue and you're gonna be like, really? And like,
I know. Yep, I've had kids say that, but you want me to live a purposeful life. I'm like, yeah, but not like that. Yeah. How I should define it for you. That's a different level of letting go of control, but welcome to our journey.
Yes, it's never ending. My mother always tells me, she's like, you never stop being a mother. She's like, you're my kid. I know you're 51 almost. And I'm like, I know. So, it's something to really, to think about as like we slow down for the rest of the year. Hopefully.
Yeah, because you are about to take a leave, right, for December?
Yeah, I usually take social media breaks off the month of December. Last summer, I've done like 3 or 4 months at a time. But I'm
Wise.
more over on Substack
Yeah.
because I write a lot there, and I can write a ton, and
Yeah.
it's easier to write on Substack than it is on Instagram. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's also the visibility is a lot higher. In the last few years, OMG, like this is really hard to connect in the same way that it was like 2020, well, obviously even 2019.
Yeah, no, I made the switch over on my 50th birthday in January this past year, and I love it. I'm working over there because I can write and share. Instagram for me started as like a little micro blog, and then I just moved all that stuff over slowly to my website, then slowly to this.
Nice.
I mean, and that's the thing is you're also learning yourself as a homeschool mom. You're teaching yourself, you're giving yourself an education and learning how to do all these things that you're doing. And
yes,
we're learning this all on the fly, y'all. Like this stuff we didn't learn in college a million years ago because they didn't have it.
Not a little bit. It didn't even exist, it turns out. I remember them saying you need to go sign up for your email in 1995. And I was like, don't think that's going anywhere.
So
I was
true.
wrong. It is always a pleasure to chat with you, Vanessa.
Oh,
and let's do it again. Let's
yes.
plan it again. Whenever you decide to come back to Instagram, let me know.
I will. In the new year for sure.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful holiday.
Christmas. Yeah. And we'll see you all ladies. See you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.